Good morning. Welcome to the Commissioners' meeting this morning. We'll have a moment of silent prayer and then the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comments. Mr. Wright.
My name is Thomas Wright, but I enjoy working against being on God. I just spoke with Mr. Miller about my tax money, and he said that he didn't have authority to give me my money back. He said it was a commission. So all I want to know is give me my money back or I'm gonna take it. I understand why you don't talk back to me. I need to know an answer because people with inflation is coming up. So you can get him an answer to get me to do all that.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in public comment? If not, we'll move on to recognitions. Kyle? No. Yes, Mr. O'Connor? None? We'll move on to approval of the agenda. We need to amend the agenda to take off under discussion items number 7. They're not going to be here this morning. So we'll let you go. Take it off. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second for approval of the agenda. I'll do roll call voting. Mr. Dickerson? Huh? Mr. Howell? Aye. Mr. Jeffries? Aye. Mr. Owen?
Aye.
Mr. Ostraker? Aye. Mr. Carter? And McVeigh, aye. Motion carries. Approval of the consent agenda A and B for the minutes of the meetings. We have a motion. Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor? Mr. Dickerson? Mr. Howell? Aye. Mr. Jeffries? Aye. Mr. Owen?
Aye.
Mr. Ostraker? Aye. Mr. Carter? McVeigh, aye. Motion carries. Discussion items. We're moving on down since we eliminated number 7 to economic development update. Ms. Corey Lindsay.
Good morning. I have just a brief presentation. This is a review of economic development goals and strategies as set forth by the strategic plan, which included community input surveys and small group discussions. Our first goal, I'm going to go through some of these other goals later in the presentation. This is just the 4 goals. Increase marketing and communication, increase support to entrepreneurs and small businesses, recruit more people to Caswell, this is a long-term goal, and engage and coordinate connectivity. For the first goal, increase marketing and communication to leverage existing resources and raise awareness. My office has developed a economic development specific website, allincasualnc.com, but we also were integral in getting the other county websites, county for the town, or the county, Caswell County, as well as the town of Yanceyville, the town of Milton, and the Chamber of Commerce to receive funding to be, to update all of those websites. That project is mostly done. We are right now still working with the web developer to develop a shared calendar. That's been a little bit more complicated issue than we thought it would be, but we think we have a clear path to developing that soon. As far as the goal of engaging and coordinating connectivity, I'm working closely with Brian, our county manager, on with the broadband infrastructure programs that are coming out from that office. And we've just had a phone call with Piedmont Triad Regional Council, and I'm hoping that they'll be able to help us as well navigate the RDOF, the GREAT grant, as well as the new CAP funding from the state. The next goal in the strategic plan is to increase support for entrepreneurs and small businesses. And as you can see, there are 3 strategies. We have made progress in all 3 of these strategies. Code Square opened at the end of 2020. We continue to gain new membership and are at about 40% capacity and have exceeded our goals for co-working memberships. And for the agriculture-related enterprise center, the SEED project is underway as well with numerous partners across the county. I'm the lead for the county when working on fundraising, operational development, and infrastructure with PCC and the other partners. And as a part of that project, the SEED project, I'm also providing support to Progressive Farmers Cooperative, which is a new farmers cooperative that is collectively marketing, distributing, and selling their products. They will be housed at the SEED Center once that is operational. The one program that is new is the top of that page, and it's called Gear Up for Growth. The Chamber, myself, and PCC Small Business Center are partnering to do what's called a business retention, expansion, and access program, which will be, we will be doing interviews with local businesses to find out kind of what their challenges are and needs are. And then we'll be providing individualized business services to them to hopefully overcome some of those challenges. And we're hoping that program will start this month. Other areas that I'm working on, the Tourism Development Authority has met recently and will continue to meet on a monthly basis. I'm providing support to them through bylaws development, operations, budgeting. They're meeting this week, actually, for the second time after they've reorganized. I'm also helping to coordinate a trails cleanup. It was recently brought to my attention by a local business that we've had a little bit of negative feedback online about the state of our trails, and so we are organizing several county agencies and community organizations to work on that trail cleanup so we can get that back up to where it needs to be. I'm also part of a team that's exploring a new residential treatment facility. This was initiated through a project with the town of Yanceyville and the community college. Continuing to work on a framework for rural wealth building, which will be a data set so that we can more accurately measure the long-term progress in this type of economic development work. And of course, grants development and management has become a larger part of what I'm doing as well. I am managing 4 state grants and 5 regional and local grants with reporting, and also still working closely with the community college seed project that is monthly, where we're trying to develop fundraising strategies for that project. So just a little bit about these strategies. Place-based, asset-based economic development is what the strategies are according to the strategic plan. We are developing projects and infrastructure that will catalyze this type of long-term development. It's in line with the strategic plan and makes for a better strategy that can more equitably impact our community. Both the International Economic Development Council and the Kauffman Foundation both suggest these strategies that emphasize entrepreneurship and small business as being impactful in communities, and small businesses account for 65% of job growth nationally. And that is my report.
Have any questions? Commissioner Reports.
Thank you very much. Just going back to the Coast Square and the 40% capacity, I believe you've told us this before. I know you've told us this before, but what is your break-even point on that? About 30%?
It's about 40.
We're about 40.
Right there at break even.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Hall.
Got a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
First, can you give us a general idea of the types of businesses now in Coast Square?
It's really varied. So we have a couple technology-based businesses. We have several people that are working within the health sector from the space. We have an HR professional. There is a couple nonprofits.
Okay.
It's big, it's quite varied.
Okay, that's good enough. Piedmont Progressive Farmers Cooperative.
Correct.
Tell us a little more about that. I know that generally speaking, the types of crops and the animals or whatever that they raise and grow, but what do they plan to sell cooperatively?
So they are already selling cooperatively eggs. And this spring, maybe early summer, they plan to add produce as a part of what they're selling. This is a group of 10 to 12 farmers that have formed a co-op. So this is not the nonprofit that existed previously. It's a cooperative, which is a different legal structure. And it's a membership organization. So there's a group of farmers that have come together and have pooled resources in order to sell into Raleigh markets, as well as Elon University, I think, is the end client for some of their product as well.
Okay. The gear, I think, I don't know if year up or year up. Year up for growth, the business retention.
Expansion and access.
Right, and that's to be started soon.
Yes. We've had planning meetings about it. We're putting together a list of the few first businesses we'll be approaching to set up interviews. And we're developing the program right now in order to do that.
Okay, so have we identified the types of any particular businesses that we want to retain?
It's going to be varied as well, across sectors.
Okay,
And we're doing that purposefully.
okay. The Tourism Development Authority,
Yes, sir.
You said they're meeting this week
Correct.
after their second reorganization. So what have they been doing?
I'm not sure that this is the first I've been a part of what they're, I think that they were inactive for a while with COVID, and they reorganized last month for their first meeting as the current group exists, and we'll be addressing bylaws and those type of things at this meeting this week. I can't speak to what they've done over the past couple of years.
So if they haven't addressed that bylaws, they haven't done anything. Okay. And then you mentioned a residential treatment facility that's someone that you're exploring, or someone is exploring.
The town and the community college are the lead on that.
What type of residential treatment facility?
It is substance abuse, I believe.
Okay. Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I wonder, when you're doing your travel, do you run upon anybody who want to come to Calvin County as a business? I mean, I noticed Greensboro, Rockham County, Preston County, they're getting all these new businesses looking at it. Is anybody, anytime you run upon anything, anybody want to come to Calvin County to run a business in Calvin County?
So generally, recruitment has not been a focus of what my job duties have consisted of. When I do come across a business that is interested in locating Caswell, it is something I work on, as shown by the Riverside project that we announced last year. And I know it feels like these announcements are always coming. But I was in a meeting last week that talked about, last year there were over 30 announcements in the Piedmont Triad region. And actually only one of those was in a tier 1 county. And that was in Rockingham. And they have a staff of 5 management or director level positions working on this. So, I know it seems like these announcements are being made often, but they're mainly in areas that are more well suited to that type of development than Caswell County is.
Any more questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, Commissioner Dickerson, is he on?
I am. I am on.
Okay.
I think that this steering committee would be better off dissolved, and this task of looking at the comprehensive plan should be left in the hand.
Did we lose him?
Committee.
Commissioner?
Can you hear me?
Not very well, no, sir. You're gonna have to back up and start again. We lost him.
All right, let me see if I can find a spot here to. How about now? Can y'all hear me?
Yep, we hear you right now.
Okay, let me stop right here for a second. Gentlemen, I think that this steering committee should be dissolved. We should not proceed forward with it, trying to staff it with individuals. It should be left in the hands of the planning board. They are better qualified to take care of this. They've been dealing with these issues for a long time. They know all the ins and outs. And to bring in another group of people to start a task that they've already been doing for an extended period of time would be redundant and a waste of everybody's time. And I would like to see this committee just cut off now and, as I said, reverted back to the planning board.
Any questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'll just make one comment, that every member of the initial, and it's not the steering committee, it's just the committee, a group of people that are trying to form the committee, every one of them is a member of the planning board already. Mr. Dickerson may not be aware of that.
Gentlemen, I'm fully aware of what is going on, and that's the main reason I think that we need to leave this in the hands of the official planning board. To start up another outside committee and for Commissioner Ostriker to handpick each person that he wants to serve on it, I think he's got another agenda here that he is trying to resurrect zoning again in this county. And this has been a battle that has been fought back and forth. The voters at the polls voted for no zoning to take place, and another backdoor attempt at starting it up again is not something we ought to be even thinking about or entertaining as a board.
You gotta cut him off. You can't question my motives. You can't make speculative comments like that.
All right, I got a comment I'm gonna make on this thing, and then it'll be over. It seems that this committee has raised quite a stir. I've had several phone calls from the public and from members of the planning board. The requirement that the comprehensive plan be reviewed each year is the responsibility of the planning board. Commissioner Ostriker is our liaison to the planning board. Both members of this new committee are also members of the planning board. The committee would ultimately relay any recommendations to the planning board if the committee is to be formed. I believe the planning board should make the decision, and it may be best if we send a request for review of the comprehensive plan to the planning board and let them decide how to proceed. I would request that we receive regular updates from Commissioner Ostriker on the progress of the review. If there's no progress, then we can step in and make an additional request or requirements. Any more comments?
Yeah, well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say it's up to the Board of Commissioners to appoint these people on that board. It's our responsibility. In the past, we've chosen application on different boards that come up, so it's up to the commissioners to make appointments to that board.
Commissioner McVeigh,
Yes,
by the statement that you read, could you condense that down? Part of it broke up when I was trying to listen. Are you suggesting that the planning board handle the issue and we do not form this individual committee to do it, or what are you saying by that, sir?
I'm saying that Commissioner Ostriker is our liaison to the planning board. Both as members of this new committee are also members of the planning board. The committee will ultimately relay any recommendations to the planning board.
So you are suggesting that we go ahead and form this committee, which is going to be used to push zoning in this county once again?
And they would report to the planning board before it ever come to us.
We're opening up a can of worms again for Commissioner Ostriker to push his zoning agenda. I do not think this committee should be formed. It should be left in the hands of the planning board.
All right. You got something, Mr. Miller?
No, sir.
What is the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion that we dissolve this committee and let the planning board handle the issue.
I'll second the motion.
You have a motion and a second on the floor. We will vote on this. Commissioner Dickerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hall,
No.
Commissioner Jeffries,
I don't understand, so I can't vote. I don't understand what you're going on.
Commissioner Jeffries, The issue being voted on is whether or not to dissolve the board that Commissioner Ostriker wants to form. Commissioner Ostriker is using this to push zoning again. And we're trying to stop this committee from being formed to put it to bed now. So that's what's before you, sir.
Sir? I don't know that. Just what he said. You vote aye. Commissioner Owen?
No.
Commissioner Ostriker? No. Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
And McVeigh? Aye. Ayes have it, motion carried. Moving on, action items, Castle County EMS debt collection. Mr. Miller.
Commissioners, we have with us today our EMS director. I'll ask Barry Lynch, the EMS director, to talk a little bit about the collections and some proposals he's received.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for allowing me to present this. The way that our billing currently works is we have a third-party billing company that takes care of all of our billing. At the roughly 120-day mark, anything that's not collected as a general rule goes into what's classified as bad debt. We do not, currently, that money is just left there. This year, we're looking at roughly $200,000 that will not be collected in any way. And that's been the same thing over the last 8 years. So my proposal to you is for us to hire a third party or a collection agency to do the billing of this bad debt. With the bad debt, the percentages, from what they've told me, we can look at 15 to 20% collection of the bad debt, which if you look at it, it's not a huge sum of money, but if they collect $5, it's more than we're getting right now. Out of the money that they collect, they get 20% of that's collected. That's on the first letter that they send out. If they send out 2 letters, if they get to the point where it's a third letter, then it goes up to 28%. And if it's the pleasure of the board, if you decide to take it to the next level of sending it to an attorney and doing garnishments, then that is 35% plus cost of court. I've got 3 proposals from 3 local companies, Durham, Winston-Salem area that was in your packet. My suggestion would be Bull City. It's located in Durham. Their collection rate is 20%, 28%, and then 35%. I've spoken with this company. They've been very good to work with, giving me all the information that I have requested. And when talking to them and their proposal, they understand the fine line that we're standing on from an EMS perspective of doing the collections. And they do it in a soft collection manner, not threatening. But what I'd like to have from the board is permission to go into a contract with Bull City to start doing collections for us.
So Commissioner, the contract would have to come back before the Board of Commissioners for approval. So what you're actually authorizing Mr. Lynch to do is continue working with Bull City, develop a contract. Of course, that contract would be reviewed by our county attorney. And at that time, when everybody was satisfied, it would come back to this board for approval.
So,
Yes, sir.
we have a contract once before, we went in the second problem. So we didn't collect the money, we was automatic collect, I got to collect this one, whatever.
We do have a billing company. We use a billing company right now. And that billing company bills up to 120 days out. Is that correct?
Correct.
So at that 120-day mark, if we hadn't collected it, at that point in time, it goes into what Mr. Lynch is saying, it goes into bad debt. That bad debt is, no one's trying to collect it at this point in time. We have had discussions before about trying to recover the bad debt, but at that point in time, the board didn't feel like it wanted to hire a collections company to be able to do that.
Any more questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I can't find it right now, Mr. Lynch, but does Person County use this company?
Yes, Person County uses Bull City also.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hall.
Mr. Chairman, I've been on this board for 20+ years. And every 2 or 3 years, we talk about bad debt collection. Every 2 or 3 years, we go out and hire somebody, maybe 4. My position has been and still is, we hire an in-house collection agency. What Mr. Lynch has just said to us, these collection agencies are gonna go after the low-hanging fruit. After 120 days, they quit. They're not gonna do anything. If we start with the first collection, we talk about $24,000, and that's for them to send out a letter. All they're gonna do is send out a letter, and they're gonna collect $24,000 of low-hanging fruit. At the third letter, they do one, they may collect $33,000, but they're not gonna do anything else. That's low-hanging fruit. Then, if we say, okay, let's go after these folks aggressively, that's gonna be garnishment and other things. Now they want 35%. They've already got the low-hanging fruit. And so at this point, we start paying lawyers, attorneys, and everybody else to do a little something for some low-hanging fruit. If we develop an in-house collection agency, we can go from the first one letter to garnishments in-house and not pay these agencies low-hanging fruit for them to go out and collect the low-hanging fruit. So I've been against this for years, and I will be against it now. Thank you.
That's what was presented 2 years ago in my budget to hire that person in-house, and it was turned down.
I understand that. I'm not blaming you. I'm talking about the decisions in the board makes. It's not only EMS. We got other departments with bad debt. Now, Mr. Chairman, Mr. County Manager, or the finance officer can tell us what was our bad debts last year. How much did we write off?
We'll have to get that number and bring it back to you. I know EMS looks at about between $150,000 and $175,000 a year on average.
In the past 8 years, it's $1.7 million.
We could have easily established an in-house department with $1.7 million. And we're still here talking about hiring people just to get the easy stuff. And I would think, and I'm just gonna say it this way, I would think if we had this on our agenda today, that somebody would be able to tell us what the total write-off of county is. We don't need to just collect EMS. We need to collect for everybody. Thank you, sir.
Any more questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have a question. Along with what Mr. Hall is saying, if he's talking about bringing in collections in-house on the EMS, I would like to know what the projected ratio of debt that we're talking about we can get. In other words, will that revenue cover the cost of an employee with benefits to do that? Or do we need to be looking wider than just the EMS? Do we need to be looking at the tax office with the delinquent real estate? Right now, the taxes that are delinquent on that, we're paying an outside law firm over $100-some thousand a year to do those collections. If we could roll all this into one ball of wax, it may very well be that we could bring in an in-house collection agency or in-house collection person to do it all. And the Castle County taxpayers will benefit overall because their expenses won't be so high to collect that.
I think that's what Mr. Hall was talking about, correct?
That's correct.
About
Okay,
to get somebody to collect all of the county's debts.
okay. Forgive me, gentlemen, this phone, I had to travel today and I can hear part of it in and part of it you can't. The acoustics are not good there. So if you're not directly on that mic, I missed part of what's being said.
What,
Mr. Chairman,
go ahead.
I have a question for our county manager. Is it not the case that the attorney that works for our foreclosures or whatever, collecting that, does he not charge the person themselves for that fee? Does the county actually pay that fee? I mean, I know we pay it, but he charges it, he includes that in his,
That's correct. The payment is made to the vendor by the county. However, we only pay on what is collected, and that amount is charged back to the taxpayer.
okay, I just wanted to clarify. That's what I thought how it worked. Thank you.
That's correct.
Well, along with those lines, there's another interesting avenue that we need to look at if we're trying to save money for the county. Mr. Owen is correct that those fees are charged on top of delinquent taxes that are collected by the law firm. But in other counties, that business is put out for competitive bids from other law firms, and part of that money that this law firm is charging the county to do that job for us could be reduced, and the savings could be reverted back to the taxpayers in the county instead of it all going into the pocket of one law firm and making them wealthy by collecting the taxes. In other words, check Rockingham County. They put it out for bids. They got competitive bids, and they got as part of that the money, so all the fees together were not given just to the law firm. They had to remit a percentage of that back to the county in order to have the privilege to collect it. I understand that when this contract was awarded to the Daniel Law Office, that there was no competitive bidding process. And I think at the very least, if we don't look at bringing it all in-house, we need to put this out for bids and let fairness rule and not one person just get it because of whatever. I won't even say how that contract was gained. I'll just say that one person shouldn't get an exclusive right to do that business. We should be looking for the best deal that can save the most money for the taxpayers of Caswell County. That's all I got to say about that one.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments from the board?
If I can have one more comment. These companies offer a wider variety of stuff than we can do in-house. It's going to cost the county an increased amount of money to buy the software and stuff to do what these companies can do. They have skip tracing. They have systems that will look and compare all the insurance companies. It's a lot of things that goes into this that's beyond just sending a letter or making a phone call.
Commissioners, we're happy to put together a proposal for the board on what it would cost to put together an in-house collection agency and bring that back to the board and let the board review it if that's what you like.
That was gonna be my recommendation. See if you can put something together and bring that back to us for collections in-house. All right, appreciate it. Wait a minute, excuse me, Mr. Howell, go ahead.
Keep in mind, you won't know what really to put in there. Every 5, 6 months, technology changes, everything changes. Now, if we've had $1.6 billion out there over the last 8 years, then it seems to me, we ought to plan on a 5-year plan for in-house and look at hiring people that's capable of doing the job, that knows what the job is about, getting the equipment we need, and then giving the program 5 years to work. Because for the last 10 or 15 years, everything we've done hadn't worked. But it's always been short term. It's always been, well, we don't want to hire no more staff. We'll let somebody else hire. We let somebody else, or we gave away $1.6 million. I don't know which is worse.
Any more comments? Mr. Miller, if you will, if you bring that information back to us, we appreciate it. And then you could put this back on. Health Department Commercial Rental Space Agreement.
Commissioners, after several discussions between myself and the health director and the county attorney, you have in front of you today a very condensed version of the lease agreement that our county attorney has put together and provided for us. So at this time, I'll ask the county attorney if he has any comments that he would like to.
Good morning, commissioners. As directed, we pared down and simplified the 30-some page lease agreement that was before you previously for the Brightleaf Square space for the health department to occupy for clinics. You have about a 6-page document in front of you now, including the exhibit. This takes a straightforward approach and calls for the lease of the space at a monthly rental of $1,850 per month. And the term will continue for 36 full months, plus the partial month that it takes for the health department to begin occupancy. There's some upfit that needs to be done. So my assumption is it won't be completed and turned over on the first day of a month. So it's 36 full months plus whatever partial month we take possession in. So that's it in a nutshell. Happy to answer any questions. Again, the intent was to just put together a pretty straightforward, simple lease agreement.
Question?
Yep.
Mr. Oden?
Mr. Farrell, do we know who the owners or who the 3B development principals are?
I do not know. That is the health department, health director, I believe, has been working with the landlord directly on the space and the upfit terms. I do not know who the principals of 3B development are. I believe they're a Virginia LLC.
Well, I think that's important to know who these people
I have not had any direct contact with the landlord.
Can Ms. Eastwood divulge that information?
Shane Brackett is who we have been working with to look at these spaces.
Sorry?
Shane Brackett is his name.
And does that person reside in Virginia or?
I don't know anything about him except for that we contacted him about leasing that space. I have no personal connection with him at all.
Mr. Chairman, the last I know, he was residing in Caswell County. He grew up here.
Okay. And the health department is able to cover this financially, correct? What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the lease agreement. I'll do roll call voting. Commissioner Dickerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Howard? Commissioner Jeffries? Commissioner Owen?
Aye.
Commissioner Ostrowski? Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Bay? Aye. Motion carries. Resolution for the Gun Memorial Library. Mr. Miller.
Commissioners, we have our library director with us, Griffin. She will walk through the resolution.
Good morning.
Morning.
The Gun Memorial Library was named in the will of Ms. Mary Snow Cooper. Wells Fargo is the executor of her estate. So one of the documents required by Wells Fargo is a resolution naming the person that's authorized to act on behalf of the library. So before you have the resolution naming me as the library director so that I can turn in this paperwork and act on behalf to receive any funds. It is a 6 to 9 month process, and any funds that we do receive is specifically designated for the purchase of audiobooks. So we cannot use it for anything other than purchasing audiobooks, which is a very minimal part of our budget right now, just a few $100s. So I'm asking if you would mind signing the resolution naming me as the person that can act on behalf of the library.
Questions? Yes, sir.
That wasn't stated in the resolution, so she's answered part of my question. What would we get from the will?
What we get from us?
From the will, and you said, probably monies and designated for library books.
Audiobooks.
Nothing else.
No, that's it. That's the only thing that's named in the will. We are one of 8. Her daughter is named, so anything that she has will be split into 2 equal portions. Her daughter will receive 1 portion, And the other portion is split between 8 different entities, and we are one of those entities. I do not know how much that amount is, and they will not tell us, give us an estimate, but it is designated for audio books.
Okay. I'll move for approval, Mr. Chairman. There's no more questions.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the resolution. We'll do roll call voting. Mr. Dickerson?
Aye.
Howell? Mr. Jeffries? Mr. Owen?
Aye.
Mr. Ostrogger? Mr. Carter?
Aye.
McVeigh? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Castle County payroll classification study, Mr. Miller.
Commissioners, at the last meeting, I prepared 3 additional options for you. You'll see the options you have being 90-7, which is 90% payroll and a 7% minimum. You see a 92-6, which is 92% payroll and a 6% minimum, and a 94-5, which is 94% payroll and a 5% minimum. You'll see 2, you were given an updated chart that shows how it would be funded. You can see that the budget reduction, the revenue increase, and the enterprise funds we're taking out of that calculation.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
I do not have that in front of me since I am not there. Could you repeat those again that are not included, the funding sources?
Budget reduction, revenue increase, and enterprise funds.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Chairman, there again, I don't have this information in front of me. So can you tell me what the cost of each of those options you have given?
Yes, sir. Give me just 1 second. So I'll start with the 94.5. The $435.
Can you repeat that, please?
$1,171,435. For the option of 92.6, 92% of payroll, 6% minimum, is $1,097,617. And for the 90% payroll, 7% minimum, it's $1,063,960.
Questions for county manager? Would y'all like to have time to review this further before we go any further with it? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I don't need a whole lot more time. We're talking about spending another million and some dollars.
Yes.
Last week, sorry about that. Oh, now, last week I had to go to the doctor, and from last week to this week to yesterday, gas went up 40 cents a gallon. From yesterday to this morning, when I came into town, gas has gone up again from, let's see, 79, another 20 cents a gallon. We don't know how this war situation is going to work out. And we certainly don't know what other emergencies we may face between now and budget time, not to mention next year. I'm not ready to even talk about spending $1 million. However, we say we're gonna pay for it. Not at this point. Thank you.
Any more comments?
Well, the only thing, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna have to stick to my plan for presenting in the meeting right now. Cannot see us going against no. I think we said we could save $80,000. $80,000 might not be to somebody else, but $80,000 a month. And that's the plan that I really go with. That plan. And we can bring all these people at the bottom up. But with those that already working, this would be good. And we don't have to get more people. You know, we ain't making that, but we don't have to get that. We get that these people to the meeting. That's my comments, and I still stick to what I said.
Mr. Owen, Mr. Carter?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I would disagree with Commissioner Jeffries in this aspect. If we do a classification pay scale, we do not need to punish those employees who have stayed with us for years and have been faithful to their duties. So we need to be very careful about eliminating, if we do a pay scale classification study or plan, we need to be very careful about eliminating people, especially those that have been with us as long as they have.
Mr. Arthur, I'm not talking about eliminating those who've been with us up at the top. They up there, these, and some of them in the bottom of that for many years, $45,000 and $26,000 a year. I'm talking about those people who need to be brought up, $40,000. They need to be brought up too. That's what I'm talking about.
Mr. Carter, we can't hear you. You're muted.
I agree with Commissioner Owen that we don't need to punish the people that's been with us a long time.
Any more comments? Which option does the board want to go with? Or would you like to have time to think about it?
Commissioner McVeigh,
Yes, sir.
as you know, I'm on a call in and I have not had an opportunity to look at all the information that everyone is seeing now. I would request more time In the meeting Friday, you assured me that a vote would not be taken on it today, and I was not prepared for a vote today.
That's fine with me. I think we need more time to digest this a little bit anyway. So if it pleases the board, we'll bring this back up at the next meeting, and hopefully at that time, everybody will have more time to go over these three options and decide what you want to do. Okay.
Just as a matter of record, I was not informed of the meeting on Friday. And when I got these minutes, in fact, I had to call to get the agenda for today, and I just called yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to read all of that. I'm going to get with staff and find out what's going on, or something is wrong with my computer. I haven't received an agenda for an entire month. For the last 4 meetings, nothing. And so something is either wrong with my computer, something is going on with my email address. I don't have a clue what it is, but I'm not getting anything, and I want that to be on the record that I haven't received anything for the last 4 meetings.
Okay, I'd like to recommend at this point that we postpone voting on this to at least the next meeting. That gives everybody time to go over the 3 different options, and from that point, we will proceed on, if that's agreeable with the board.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll move on. Appreciate it. County managers updates.
Commissioner, I have no updates this one.
All right, Commissioner comments.
Yeah, I have one.
Yes, sir.
Y'all Branch Road, we was talking about, it's still flooded, still bad road, I know on that, it's about 14 miles. But something needs to be did by the Branch Road, we got to do. You can't pass on that having debris. You got to stop, and that's a state road, I think you'll ask the county manager to follow on that, why they had to come at that deal.
I spoke to a gentleman that lives on Dog Branch Road, Saturday. He called me, or it may be Friday. He called me to discuss how they can move that process forward. They still have two individuals that live on that road that they can't get to sign the right of way. And those folks live, I think, in West Virginia.
I live in Detroit.
Okay. So, we went over several different options that they had available to them. So I expect him to get back in touch with me soon and let him know maybe which way they want to move forward. And I've asked him to send both myself and Commissioner Owen an email because Commissioner Owen was so instrumental in getting the last special assessment completed.
Those 2 ladies and I, some years ago, they probably don't even know what's happening.
Right.
That's the way it is. They got my cousins, I think 90-something years old, and they both live in Detroit.
Yeah, that's some of the things that we discussed of why we're having so many problems. Getting in touch with them and getting the paperwork signed.
Yes, sir. Announcements and upcoming events, March 21st, 2022, Board of Commissioners meeting at 6:30 p.m. I will entertain a motion to go into closed session. I need a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make a motion to go in closed session, but I don't have the form in front of me what it's for.
Okay, we have got a motion to go into closed session. We need a second. We have a motion and a second to go into closed session.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just read out the stated reasons for the closed session for the record.
Please do. We're going to ask you to.
Consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body in regard to case number 22 CVS 45 Caswell County Sheriff Department versus Felicia A. Richmond, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. NCGS 143-318-11A3 to prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. And GS 143-318-11A1 to consider that's A1, and to consider the qualifications, competence, and performance and character and fitness of an appointment or conditions of employment of an individual public officer or employee, and that's pursuant to GS 143-318-11A6. So a number of different closed session items for you today.
Thank you. Roll call voting. Commissioner Dickerson.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell. Aye. Commissioner Jeffries. Aye. Commissioner Owen.
Aye.
Commissioner Ostrager. Commissioner Carter. Aye. Motion carried. We will now sit in closed session. We're sitting back in open session at this time. We need a motion on Mr. Miller's proposal. Mr. Howell.
Could you get Mr. Miller to repeat his proposal, please?
Mr. Miller.
Commissioners, as outlined in your management recommendation letter as part of the salary study, the management recommendation letter spoke directly about needing additional staff, additional management staff. So my recommendation is that as long as it can be done within the initial $60,000 appropriation that the board set forth, that the board allow 2 positions to be hired, a deputy county manager and an assistant county manager.
Need a motion. Oh, Mr. Howell, you got a question?
Still a question. So this management recommendation letter, is that from the auditors?
No, that's from the salary study consultant, and that should have been emailed to you. I can get you a copy of that today before you leave, if you like.
Okay. Got it.
All right, if there's no other questions, I need a motion.
Oh, I got one question on that.
Okay, Mr. Jeffers, got a
I
question.
thought what we was gonna do, assistant county manager, we was gonna get something like an intern or somebody, that would go into county manager. I know we was just gonna get 2 people to take and use that money. But I mean, we didn't bring it out. So nothing, no flex on you. We didn't bring it out that way, but that was my encouragement. That we was gonna get an intern or somebody who maybe going into county manager. I didn't know, but I didn't say anything.
Any more questions? Okay, now I need a motion.
So
We have a motion, we need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll do roll call voting. All those in favor? Mr. Dickinson?
No.
Commissioner Howell? Mr. Jeffries?
no, I just couldn't go with it the first time. I can't go.
Commissioner Owen?
Yes.
Commissioner Ostraker?
Aye.
Commissioner Carter? McVeigh? Aye. Motion carries. Is there any other business that needs to come before us?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn by roll call voting. Mr. Dixon?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell? Commissioner Jeffries? Commissioner Owen?
Aye.
Commissioner Ostrager? Commissioner Carter? McVeigh? Aye. We are now adjourned. Thank you.